morning, Jen here. Today we're talking all about moving abroad. So those of you who've watched my channel for a while, you know that I have already lived abroad about three separate times in Prague, South Korea, Australia, and of course, I've lived in the US because that's where I'm from. But today we're talking about people who want to move abroad. Perhaps you have the itch, but you're scared. So let's get into it. So so if you've already decided to move abroad, which is probably why you clicked on this video, let's talk about some of the issues that people go through when they're not sure how other people, especially parents, family, friends, and other loved ones, are going to react about the news that you're going to share. So let's start with my little story. Very quickly, when I decided to take a job offer in Prague, which was right after I lived in Australia. So I basically came back to Las Vegas, where I was currently living at that time. And I was in contact with his family about a private tutor for their children to help them with their English. And I will say that if this is the route you're going to go as far as getting over there, meaning having a job lined up, I would definitely recommend that for most destinations, especially within Europe or Asia. Asia, it's actually quite easy to get set up with a job. So you could check out a website right here, daveseslcafe.com. You could also check out a bunch of other websites, but I know this one to be reputable. I've actually found personal jobs through there. But another great resource is actually finding other people on web forums or other people that you know in your network. Try your Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, etc. People that have already lived abroad. A lot of these people, like myself, have friends that are still living and working abroad, even if they themselves have returned to the US. If anyone is interested in South Korea specifically, I can definitely hook you up with some recommendations. You can just drop in my comments below and I can connect you with some people. I would say definitely more on the experience side. I used to work at Youngjin College and English Village, so I worked at technically both. So the English Village component of working in Asia is usually for teachers that are freshly graduated. Maybe their degree was not in teaching, which is fine as long as they have a bachelor's. So I would say we're looking at 22 years old and up for these jobs. If you are a seasoned teacher, college professor, adjunct, or just teacher in the US, you already have maybe a year or two worth of teaching experience, Asia is a great place because you can use your license and all of that to negotiate more pay. So this is a great option for moving abroad if you're interested in Asia. Now, Europe, on the other hand, is a little bit more tricky if you're really living or wanting to live, I should say, in Europe already and you have some contacts. Europe is a great place because your cost of living is lower than the US. I know a lot of people are saying, well, Jen, prices are going up in Europe. That's true. However, so is the quality of life. So, if we're looking at it from a perspective of US to Europe, Europe is still going to be cheaper in terms of renting, in terms of groceries, in terms of healthcare, and just affordable living across the board. I also want to touch on the fact that congratulations, you made a huge decision that a lot of people will never ever make. And that's usually because they're scared. And there's nothing wrong with being scared. But what's wrong is when we're scared and we don't take risks or make decisions because of being scared. So it's totally fine to think, oh my God, what am I doing? I just signed a contract and now I'm going to live in a country where maybe I don't speak the language. I don't know anyone. I don't know the culture, and that's totally fine. This is what life's all about. It's all about experimenting and going on adventures, and this will definitely be a great adventure that you'll have stories for the rest of your life. Now let's talk about how do we tell those friends, families, and loved ones that we've decided to take a job abroad? Well, I can tell you how I did it. First, I contacted only my close friends and I just explained to them that I had gotten a job offer in Prague, Czech Republic. A lot of them didn't know where it was. To be honest with you, neither did I. When I first was offered this job, I was only 24 or 25 years old. I really didn't know the geography of Europe outside of Western Europe, maybe France, Germany, Holland, these areas. And I had never been to Czech Republic or Prague or even had heard of it. So I don't want this to turn you guys off from potentially taking a better contract or better paying job abroad, even if you're not so sure about the country. There's a lot of countries that are up and coming that are just very quiet, not a lot of people talking about them. Slovenia is a great example. They're about to drop a digital nomad visa. I love Slovenia, super safe for everyone, very welcoming, very friendly. English is their second language. So I definitely don't want you to take the fact that you've never heard of a country as a reason not to do some of your own research on that country and decide if it could work for you and if you want to have that kind of adventure and experience. And remember, we don't need to justify why we are taking this risk. When I took my job in Prague and I had just done some research on, maybe the money, the language, a little bit about the culture, the food, I talked to previous people who were already working in Prague and just kind of got their insight that were also Americans. There's tons of Facebook groups about living abroad in certain places. You can connect with these people. There's a wealth of information nowadays. 10 years ago, not so much when I went there, right? But now people are moving and living everywhere and it's totally normal. So, because of that, there's a much higher percentage of foreigners in a lot of these countries where you can work abroad. So this is a great way to get a network going before you even move to these places, which is something I did not even have the advantage to do. I basically had to fly to Czech Republic, get picked up, and start a whole new life for about 12, 13 months on my own. So again, if you guys have any questions specifically about Czech Republic or South Korea or Australia, specifically in Sydney, where I did live, you could always email me or you can drop in my comments below. Otherwise, that's it for today. And thank you guys so much for watching. See you next time. Ready to work with a travel agent but don't know where to start? You can always drop in my comments or send me an email to my business email, and I'm happy to help you guys plan your next amazing trip.